This is an Apparel Arts illustration. So is this. And this. When I first started getting into vintage, much of my initial inspiration beyond legends of jazz and the silver screen were Apparel Arts illustrations. Apparel Arts was originally a trade magazine launched in the early 1930s and used by fashion buyers to decide what to stock for their stores. Its meticulously penned illustrations featured men donning outfit combinations for a variety of occasions, temperatures, and activities. It's basically a how-to guide on classic men's dress of the 1930s and 40s. In 1957, as the fashion industry changed and trends shifted, the magazine was rebranded as Gentleman's Quarterly, or GQ, and evolved into the magazine we know today. However, lovers of classic men's style still sought out Apparel Arts illustrations for inspiration, and they still do today. Though I always collected Apparel Arts illustrations for the inspiration and the clothes, the lack of diversity in the images wasn't lost on me. Given the history of most westernized countries, it's to be expected that black people would be depicted, if at all, as maids or porters, just as they were in most advertisements pre-1970. Though the well-penned and beautifully detailed images in Apparel Arts magazines were for the fashion buyers, the illustrators had the generally white customers in mind. But it didn't have to be. Folks, happy Sunday. Hope everyone's enjoying it. I think it's important that we continue to diversify spaces, diversify companies, so that we can get diverse experiences and we can learn not to make the mistakes that we shouldn't because people are represented, because people are in the room. Also, I think we need to digitally diversify. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of the inspiration for us people who are into vintage, into clothing, into menswear, a lot of that inspiration comes from Apparel Arts illustrations. But those Apparel Arts illustrations do not ever include or at least feature people of color. We can change that. How? I'm calling all my artists around the world, try this. Black Apparel Arts. The next time that you create something, the next time you sit down to draw, to paint, to sketch, whatever, take a look at an Apparel Arts illustration, but then make it black. Think of the work of J.C. Leyendecker or Lawrence Fellows. Think about those incredible Apparel Arts illustrations that have inspiration for menswear enthusiasts and fashion historians since the 1920s. So now, when you sit down to paint something, when you sit down to sketch out something, make it black. Use the hashtag Black Apparel Arts, and I will share it on my page. Hashtag Black Apparel Arts. Let's try something different, guys. Let's diversify digitally. Black Apparel Arts. That little idea on a Sunday was a rallying cry for artists to diversify their work by looking to the past and fashioning it for the present. And boy, did they deliver. Some were inspired by artists like Fellows and Leyendecker, others pulled from fashion plates of the 1800s, and others still were original acts of creativity. In looking at some of the Instagram accounts, some of the artists had been portraying people of color for years. Others, it was clear that this was their first time, at least publicly. So as I sat there looking at these rows and rows of marvelous images, I had to wonder, what was it that inspired these artists to act?
Hello, Hello.
Hello, I'm Lauren from Copper Top Ink.
My name's Caitlin Rain.
My name's Alex Barrow.
What drew me to the Black Apparel Art?
Black Apparel Arts.
The Black Apparel Arts.
Black Apparel Arts.
The Black Apparel Arts Challenge on Instagram.
Well,
I wanted a creative outlet that was a celebration of being Black.
Just trying to find any of those illustrations depicting anyone of mixed heritage, but you just can't find it. Something that basically doesn't really exist.
I felt like the Black Apparel Arts Challenge was this perfect way for me to engage with my audience and my art friends, the importance of representation.
Representation matters, and I wanted in some way to contribute to that.
You create based on what you're inspired by, and you can only be inspired by the things that you've seen.
Black people need to be represented more in the arts, and as an artist, what better way to spread that message than through art?
One of the reasons that I got into costume design as a profession was a love of old Hollywood and costume history, and I've never had any trouble seeing myself reflected back in those things. I was really excited to be able to contribute in some way to increasing the representation of Black people in these spaces for people who might love these things, but they don't get to see themselves reflected back in the same way.
I was elated, and it's almost like somebody is telling me, yes, you can wear these garments. Yes, this lifestyle is meant for you. You are included.
It gives an insight into another world where people were all depicted.
This challenge captured my interest as an artist descended from a fashion illustrator of that classic apparel arts age, but it also inspired me as a research opportunity to learn more about Black people from different eras of popular culture and queer history, as well as looking at vintage fashion and style. I always think those are the best kind of challenges, the ones that let you open up bigger conversations and invite more people in.
Celebrating Black joy in a time when everyone was just feeling such strong emotions of anger and despair.
The treatment of Black imagery and the Black image during the period that we laud as vintage amounts to repression and erasure. Let's change the narrative.
To quote Nina Simone, it's an artist's role to reflect on the times and situations in which we find ourselves in. And I feel like now more than ever, it's really important for artists to reflect and ask ourselves why and who we're drawing, what we're drawing, and what stories we decide to tell.
To date, there are 1,000+ images, 1,000+ posts filling this hashtag with art of every medium. This little idea had blossomed into something truly magical. But now what? Hey Jason, how's it going?
Great, just finished 2 deadlines, teaching a class right after this, can't complain.
That sounds like that freelancer quarantine life.
Yeah.
So why don't you introduce yourself?
Great, okay. My name's Jason Raish. I'm a freelance illustrator. I was born in South Korea, came to the US at the tender age of 3. I studied fine arts at SUNY Albany for a couple years, studied abroad in Korea for a year, and the Fashion Institute of Technology, FIT. They have an illustration program. I've been at it for 14 years, I guess. Editorial's my bread and butter mainly. Clients like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, book covers, advertising. I've been getting into alternative movie posters recently. I guess that's about it.
So being someone who works in illustration, who works in the industry, and you've worked in the industry for a long time, how diverse is it really?
Yeah, that's a good one. So there is an illustrator, Ben the Illustrator, and he gathers survey data from illustrators around the world. It's backed by Adobe and the AOI and a couple other organizations, so there is some weight behind it. I looked at the 2019 numbers, 79% Caucasian, 7% Asian, 7% mixed, 2% prefer not to say, and 3% Black, which is this surprising number, but then not surprising. Without the diversity, you know, just the whole narrative of I guess media and magazines and newspapers and what art you see on the cover and comics and all of that is mostly, you know, reflected in the numbers I just said. You know, you draw yourself basically, so that's what they say. So if the industry isn't that diverse, then you're not going to get those diverse characters.
Even just thinking about that 3%, how does that reflect the student body of FIT?
And I'm going into my second year teaching at FIT. So anecdotally, my class is they've been about 20 to 25% black students, which that's a big disparity there.
It just must mean that there isn't the support, or at least the transition into the industry that there should be. Break that down.
Okay, so the FIT Black Students Illustrator Award, FIT's Fashion Institute of Technology, it was set up to be $1,000 awards, no strings attached, given out until the money's gone, given out to graduating seniors that are graduating from the FIT illustration program. I started a few years ago my Croquet and Ink series, because I love vintage fashion illustration. As I was doing the initial research, I saw it's all Caucasian models, and that was what was represented as America in the magazines and advertising and everything. I started using, people of color in these illustrations. People liked them, and so this summer, with the renewed Black Lives Matter movement, social justice movement, I was sitting there feeling paralyzed, wanting to do something, not knowing what to do, what to say, should I be saying anything? And so when you put out your Black Apparel Arts Challenge, I was thinking maybe it's time to bring this series out of retirement and do a couple more for a good cause. I created 2 exclusive pieces of art for this fundraiser. It's a timed edition, so they'll be on sale only for 1 week, and then they'll never be printed again. So Croquet and Ink 13 and 14, if you want to get your hands on it this week, that's on sale. It's the only time. I was thinking, really, if I'm paralyzed and I can't make art and say something important, then maybe I can fundraise and help out, students that can. They can take this money and succeed and start shaping the narrative of this industry that they're really underrepresented in.
The FIT Black Student Illustrator Award. With the funding from this award, we hope to empower the next generation of Black illustrators to carve out their own path in this competitive industry. But we need your help. Go to the link below to purchase one or both of Jason's prints, and the profits will fund this award. Representation matters. Art is empowerment, and communities can affect change. Help us diversify the stories that are told by empowering the storyteller. In this year of stress and anxiety, it is artists who have helped us through. Let's empower the next generation of artists to tell new stories, paint new perspectives, and be there for us when we need them the most. Thank you to my patrons.